Welcome to Grow Good, a place to spread joy, beauty, and goodness, to bear good fruit, a place where others can meet or be inspired to meet God. So get cozy, lean in, and listen close. Miracles are at work, and He wants to meet you too. Hi, friends, and happy Tuesday. I hope you're having an awesome week so far. I cannot wait to share today's conversation. It is with somebody very near and dear to my heart because she played such a big role in my own conversion and reversion back to the faith. But before I get to that, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to these stories. I think it's just been so incredible to watch the responses from people, how these stories are touching your own lives, how they're touching your own faith life and your own relationship with Christ. And yeah, just thank you. And please feel free, please share this with a friend, or leave a rating or a review to help this podcast show up in search results for anybody that may be seeking or, just wanting more to their life. Maybe they haven't met Christ yet. Or maybe you do know Christ and you want to go deeper. And we want to just help get the podcast out to those people that might be seeking. So with that being said, I am so excited to share today a story of Beth Davis. Beth Davis is a full-time director of ministry advancement at Blessed Is She, which Blessed Is She is just incredible. If you don't already know about it, please go check that out. It's honestly the community of Catholic women that you've been searching for. And Beth is incredible. She leads Teachable Tuesdays, which is a series on YouTube and on Instagram, where she just shares her relationship with the Lord and what He's speaking to her through Scripture, or what's going on in her own walk with the Lord. And it has helped me tremendously. Their daily devotions I read every single morning. They are so helpful for any woman who is looking for a way to connect the daily readings with their life in a practical, tangible way. And I think that that's life-changing. Jenna has created truly something just so spectacular in partnership and clear vision from the Lord. And it's so fun to watch and have it touch people like me that it's really changed my life and got me to want to have this personal relationship with Christ. So, needless to say, today was a dream to be able to interview Beth and hear about her story, how she first met the Lord, where it's taken her, what her journey has been like, how she got involved with Blessed Is She, and what her prayer is like and her relationship is like with Christ. And so without any other further ado, I'm so honored and excited to welcome Beth Davis to the show. Beth, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, friend. How are you?
Oh, so good. I'm so happy you're here. Can you start us out by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you?
Sure. My name is Beth Davis, and I'm 37. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I work full-time for Blessed Is She, an online Catholic women's ministry, whose heart is to get women together in real life. People seem to miss that part. So that's what we're all about, prayer and community. I was born and raised here in Phoenix, born and raised in the church. I had my conversion of heart in high school and just fell in love with Jesus there. Went to college and studied special education, which is all I ever wanted to do from the time I was 5 years old. But I was just so crazy in love with the Lord and wanted to be able to talk about Him and journey with people in the church. So I just had a lot of people speak into my life and encourage me to go into ministry. So I did that straight out of college. I was a youth minister for 11 years at the same parish glory to God. What a miracle. I still can't even believe it. That was in Flagstaff, Arizona. So about 2.5 hours north of Phoenix. And then I came back to Phoenix 3 years ago to come on full-time with Blessed Is She. So
Amazing.
That's the long and the short of it.
Amazing. But yes, that's perfect. But let's go back to the beginning of Beth Davis. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Can you share just maybe a little bit of background of how you grew up? And if you can remember the first time being kind of introduced to God at a personal level.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, as I said, I was, baptized as a baby, raised in the church. Interestingly enough, my mom is Catholic, but my dad was Presbyterian. So he went to Mass with us. And then the older I got, the less he came to Mass with us, just kind of a Christmas and Easter kind of situation, or, when we received sacraments, which, praise God, he never put up any obstacles to the three of us kids coming into the church, being raised in the church. And I think by the time I was in junior high, it was really just my mom and I practicing. And I'm always so hesitant to tell people this because it's kind of controversial, but I was an altar server. I know girl altar servers are, I know it's scandalous, for some people, but I was, and I remember sitting on the altar and during Mass thinking about God and having a sense of love and warmth from God, and thinking about my friends and school and kind of directing those thoughts at God. But I did not know that Jesus himself was on the altar in the Eucharist. And, I went through CCD and they taught me beautiful things. It's no one's fault. I didn't make the connection. I didn't know yet. So when I went through confirmation in high school, which is interesting. Now our diocese is a restored order and kids make their first communion and confirmation together. But I was a junior in high school. So I was 16 years old, and it was a pretty intense program. So I had to go to youth group for a year. So weekly Sunday nights, weekly Wednesday nights, and 2 retreats.
Wow.
Which is after being a youth minister for 11 years, that was an incredible commitment that I would totally agree. Praise the Lord, because I was fully immersed in this really vibrant Catholic community. I was in just a massive youth group. I was plugged into a faith-sharing family of other teens going through the program, and ultimately just encountered Jesus in the Eucharist in adoration, really for the first time on those retreats and at youth group nights. And at the same time was encountering the Lord in the people in the youth group, particularly my youth minister, who just made the faith so attractive. He made relationship with Jesus so personal and real. He talked about the Lord like Jesus was a real person. And I didn't really know anyone like that until I was in this youth group. So shout out to Paul George. Praise God for that man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So can you share just what that experience was like? Did they have adoration where they would have everybody sit, and be like, okay, we're going to do adoration now together? And did they kind of walk you through what it would be like? Or did you kind of just find yourself, figuring this out kind of on your own as you're...
Yeah. Actually, I kind of both and, gosh, I have a couple of significant memories, but I couldn't tell you everything that led up to it or everything that was said. But I think that a part of what helped me to have this encounter is that other people were so in it. So I just kind of followed their lead. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So everyone kneeled, I kneeled. People were opening their hands in front of them and thanking God. praising Jesus. So I did that. I just sort of followed the leader. And again, that language of, this is Jesus. This is really Jesus, truly present in the most blessed sacrament. And he's come here to be with you, to look at you. And again, that's not a direct quote, but just kind of that language around what we were doing when I had never been exposed to Eucharistic adoration. I didn't grow up in a parish with an adoration chapel. So it was a lot of just watching and listening and kind of just intuitively telling the Lord what I thought of the experience and what was happening in my heart and the obstacles that I felt, the resistance that I felt to trusting him or to believing that he could love me. That sort of came very naturally to me in prayer.
Yeah. And you just kind of felt his presence so that you felt comfortable and okay with just opening up to him. Because I think that that's something, it's kind of like this foreign topic. It's kind of a foreign thing if you've never done it before to just open up and talk to him rather than, at least for me, I remember for a long time, I thought that the only way to pray was an Our Father or a Hail Mary. I mean, I still remember vividly praying before bed with my dad and how beautiful that was. And we would kind of make up prayers, but we were always praying kind of for people, which it still was so powerful and so beautiful. And I remember obviously praying before meals and things like that growing up. But this idea of this personal relationship with a living God who was interacting with your life every day, that just, for some reason, that just never clicked for me. I'm sure people talked about it, but it never sunk in. I had no idea that you could just talk to him. And when I realized that, it was like this huge, epiphany that opened so many doors in my heart to him. But for you, that kind of just came natural when you were sitting there, you just started kind of opening your heart to him. And that's kind of when you felt like you could feel kind of that you weren't talking to nothing, to air.
Yeah. Well, I was a big journaler as well. And I still am, like, as a spiritual practice, but I won't say it was clumsier than I'm making it sound. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was almost like I was kind of talking like, dear diary, today I feel, but like kind of directing it toward the Lord. But it helped that other people around me were modeling that kind of relational language. So if I had grown up in a home that, really used traditional or rote prayers, like if we grew up praying the rosary every day, I would also think that was the only way to talk to the Lord,
Yeah.
But I just didn't grow up with that framework of rote prayers, really. So I think as I heard people talk about Jesus like a friend, I intuited that I could talk to him like a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense. And so then, what started happening after that youth group, like you got to meet this minister or this youth minister that was talking about a real relationship. You were coming to know that this is real and that you're starting to have your own personal relationship. So then, what did that lead to next?
Yeah. Again, I just think you're making it sound like I was like way more together than I was. I think what actually drove my flight into Jesus's arms was actually insecurity. It was not like a confidence that this is God and this is what I want my life to be. It was this deep insecurity and a desire to be loved. And I'm hearing and I'm feeling, I'm sensing that this is a relationship where I could be loved and accepted. And so really it was my insecurity that drove me to the Lord. All of these other things kind of like scaffolded that. But I was not like a zealous, apostle or disciple of the Lord. I was like a broken, insecure teenage girl that wanted to be loved.
Yeah.
So I just started to fall in love with Jesus. In fact, I read a book that I couldn't tell you now theologically how appropriate or accurate it is, but I read this book. I'm pretty sure it was called Falling in Love with Jesus, and talked about Jesus as bridegroom in the scriptures. It talked about Song of Songs, about the pursuit of God for the heart of woman in particular. And I thought, oh, this is what I want. I want to be chosen. I want to be loved. And so really that was like the gateway for me, was falling in love with the man, Jesus.
Yeah. So crazy, because now the way you talk about it now is exactly how I would describe how you described that first youth minister you had. I mean, you talk about him like he's in the room. And I don't know whether you realize that or not, but like that has such an impact on people like me that don't have that relationship. And so I find that so interesting. Yeah, that it was just like this really slow, kind of gradual burn where he was slowly, I almost feel like it was like a melding of just like, like it's kind of just like you were so close that it was just a slow tide, right? Of like him coming into your heart in ways where you were kind of just getting more and more immersed and being introduced to all these people and these retreats and these things, maybe without you even realizing that you were getting deeper and deeper into him, you know?
No, that's so accurate, because I remember actually, particularly in college, like coming home and seeing kids from youth group. And, you know, at this point, like the trajectory of my life is set. Like I'm all in for Jesus. There wasn't a moment. It's just, he became my whole life. I thank you for that melding like image. That's so accurate.
So then where did you go to college? Did you end up picking a Catholic college and you were just like,
oh my gosh, no. No, again, I mean, I was not zealous. I was, you know, still pretty timid in a lot of ways. You know, I just was very young. Like I have a very young heart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the youngest in my family. I'm just like a young soul, I guess. So I didn't like take the reins and make decisions. It was like, okay, I want to teach special ed. And I was running the career fair in high school because I was like student body vice president. And actually, I didn't even want to think about college. I like didn't want to think about leaving home. So I just ignored the idea of college. And my parents talked to this admissions director at Western New Mexico University in this tiny town called Silver City, New Mexico. And they offered me some scholarship money. I was able to do theater there because I had done that all through junior high and high school. Yeah. And it was just a small school. It was drivable. And it started as a teacher's college. So I was like, okay. So I just went there. And there was no community, no Catholic community at all. I was in a Newman Center briefly that was, you know, problematic. There were maybe like 6 to 10 kids who were just kind of hanging out there. Actually, this is so ridiculous. I shouldn't tell you this story, but I'm going to. I became the president of the Newman Center. I guess by this point I was pretty zealous for
I mean, wow. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I was in love with Jesus, you know, I was like totally in love with the man, Jesus.
Right.
I'd experienced so much acceptance and healing and like beautiful prayer by that point that, again, I just thought, like, if we were all here, we were all on the same page, but we weren't.
Yeah.
So anyway, I remember I gave a teaching. I put together like a little Newman night, and it was so simple. I just encouraged them to, like, you know, write out your top 5 list of priorities. Like, what are the most important things to you right now? And then I talked about, like, where is the Lord on that list? And if he is who he says he is, like, wouldn't you want him to be first?
Yeah.
And actually, I was asked to resign. I was like kicked out of the Newman Center.
What?
Can you believe that? No, isn't that bizarre? What a silly.
For saying that Jesus should be first? That's literally scripture.
Yeah, thank you. Right. But, you know, it was just like they wanted the Newman Center to be about service or, you know, like hanging out, like community.
Interesting.
Yeah. it wasn't, I'm sure it's not like that now.
No,
I'm
but
sure
that's
it's
just
like
so,
a weird thing,
it's interesting that that happened to you as part of your experience too. Like, I wonder what the Lord was saying through all of that. Because so you went to this college and you try to get involved. Like, you're trying to find like,
Right.
or you're just trying to find Jesus, like you go to the Newman Center, you become the president, you do that activity to have it be taken from you. I mean, what was that time like? Yeah, for you and the Lord. I mean, were you praying at this time? Like, once you started going to adoration, like you were saying, did that ever stop, or was that just something you took with you like throughout the rest of your life?
There was no adoration in college. I did go to daily mass, but even the like local parish like met in a double wide at the time. And it was like not a great experience, to be honest. Actually, it's so crazy to talk about this. I never think about this, but it was like I was not really supported at that time.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like it.
But
it's interesting.
I read my Bible.
Yeah.
I read my Bible, and not in a systematic way. I just like started reading it. I don't, looking back, the only, the only thing I can like credit must have been the Holy Spirit. Yeah. But again, it was like very subtle. It wasn't like I had this fire and this desire to read scripture. It was like, I'm drowning and I'm lonely, so I'm going to read the word, and somewhere in there, I made the decision. I think I read a scripture that like really resonated with me, and I decided to memorize it. I wanted to believe it. I heard that Protestant people did that. And that seemed like a pretty cool thing. So I started memorizing scripture, and it just started with a couple of verses, but then they would come back to me and encourage me when I needed them. And I actually went over to the Baptist Student Union. They did like lunches or, events or whatever. And I started, like, I ran retreats there and could just talk about the Lord. It's so funny to think.
No, yeah, but I was actually, that was going to be my next question is, did you ever consider a Protestant denomination? Because it is so much more, it's known for being more, scripture-based and just like this personal relationship with Jesus. But that's why it's just so beautiful how he works, because you were introduced to that intimately yourself when not everybody had really experienced what you're experiencing. And yet you're faithfully Catholic. You had this experience in adoration with the Blessed Sacrament, the true presence of Jesus. And so it's like this kind of oxymoron between like the Protestant faith that has all of this, scripture and relationship with Jesus, but they don't have the Eucharist. And you were kind of melding those two together. That's kind of how he was setting you up. Well, basically,
in all fairness, the youth group that I grew up in, has a reputation that is nationwide. I grew up at St. Timothy's in Mesa, where Life Teen International was founded. Okay. So I had the absolute most incredible youth ministry experience. I mean, hundreds of kids coming to youth group every week. It was like the thing to do. And it worked. It wasn't just like flash or production value, like there was beauty and depth and the sacraments. I fell in love with Jesus in the Eucharist. So I felt very at home at the Baptist Student Union. I could like hold my own in a Protestant church because I loved worship, and I still love worship, and I love the word, but I could never leave the Eucharist or confession. I needed them too badly. So
that's so interesting. So you started leading these like retreats. Is that what you said? At the Baptist Student Union?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But did they know you were Catholic?
Yeah. And
they were okay with that? They were just like, yep, Beth, take it and run. Like,
in fact, they had a campus minister who became like a dear friend, an older woman who just always encouraged me. She loved Jesus. And so we spoke the same language,
Yeah.
And there was a Baptist pastor from in town who would like come to these like dinners and events. And we would just talk about the Lord and talk about scripture. And he always pointed me back to the church, which is just God's like grace and protection. God bless this man for his humility. But yeah, they never tried to, what's the word? Proselytize me. They never tried to like convert me. You know?
And you never had this desire because you already knew your experience and you knew he was present in the Blessed Sacrament. You knew that there was confession and that it was real because you had already experienced this tangibly for yourself.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. It makes sense to me. Totally. I think, there was a lot happening for you in college, like a lot of different ways that I think he was working just in, because it's just so beautiful to see now so clearly how I think in your ministry now, it's so obvious that those all played such a big role in like where you are now. I mean, that just all makes sense to me. But so then you graduated from this college, and how did you get into ministry full time?
Well, in my summers in college, my youth minister, who I loved, called and said, "Hey, Life Teen is doing this new thing. They're hosting these summer camps in Georgia, and they're looking for college interns, like summer staff." So I did that for 2 years. And when I went to these summer camps and I was with, 20 or 30 other college kids from all over the country who also loved the Lord, I just like found a home and really like fell more deeply in love with Jesus. And I had people, adults come through and say like, you should be talking about the Lord. You should be teaching. Like, you're really good at mentoring young people. Like, have you thought about doing this? And I hadn't, I was very committed to special ed. So then I'm coming back to school out of like this utopia of summer staff life with these Catholic young people.
Yeah, then you're going back and being like what? What's happening?
Totally immersed in the sacraments and like worship every day. And I mean, it was just like heaven on earth, you know, in a beautiful place. And then I come back to these people who I really love, but who don't, it was just a stark difference. And I came back and I did student teaching my senior year and just was, it was just eye-opening for me. I love children with special needs. I want to support their families. My heart like lives for relationship. And when I got in the classroom, it was a lot of paperwork and lesson planning and like IEP meetings. And it just, it didn't like, I didn't come alive, There was a significant moment in like an upper level education class where he was actually my advisor. He was the head of the special education department and he was a Catholic. So we'd go to mass together. And I said, but what about the Lord? I said this in my education class. But what if I'm talking to a family and I know that Jesus is the only thing that they need? Like, Jesus is the only answer. What do I do? And he said, you can't talk about him like that, Beth. And that was like it was a pivotal moment for me. And it's interesting. He didn't say, you could be in Catholic school and do special education and talk to people about the Lord. He just like said no. And it's as if like I could hear a door close. Like I just didn't want to do it,
Hi, friends. I hope you are enjoying my conversation so far. I wanted to take a minute to introduce you to today's episode sponsor, Anchor. With Anchor, you can easily create and distribute your podcast for free. It allows you to record and edit your podcast right from the platform. It will also distribute your podcast to places like Spotify, Apple, and more. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now back to the show.
So anyway, I just started applying and again, just with people's encouragement, started applying for jobs, and I don't know. It feels so random, but you're making it sound like you're helping me to see how the Lord was in it.
Totally.
Of course, I know that he was, but I don't know. It was all kind of a blur. I applied, and
so you applied for the youth ministry jobs.
Yeah, Rachel, I had my first interview for, I can't believe, I just like you so much. This is dangerous because I like feel like I'm just talking to you and this isn't a podcast.
It's okay. I can edit it. I can edit it. Don't worry.
No, you don't really have to. It's like fine. I just would never say this, but my first interview with this parish I had on the front porch of this sweet little townhouse that my girlfriends and I rented while we were hosting a house party. They were inside, like having a party, and I'm on the phone having an interview to be a Catholic youth minister.
Wow.
But those two things didn't feel incompatible.
Yeah, like, that's your life.
People. Yeah,
totally. Like that's just what you knew. Yeah. And so you were interviewing and you got the job, obviously at this parish. Was it the parish that you were at for the next 11 years was the one that you got the job?
Yeah.
And where was that?
I had applied for a couple of others, and, it just didn't come to fruition. I applied for things out of state, just nothing really clicked. But this parish was in Flagstaff, Arizona. So it was within my home diocese, the Diocese of Phoenix, but it's a massive diocese. So Flagstaff is 2.5 hours away from the Diocese of Phoenix, like the pastoral center. So it's just a massive territory. And then, I went on to interview with the pastor. I went up and did a visit, and there was a moment on that second in-person interview. I stayed for a vigil mass, and I still really didn't have any sense of like what I was going to do, or like, do I want to do this? I had no ministry training. Again, my background is special education. I just had these summer camps, but I had these connections to this like massive Catholic community who were all, just like cheering for me. And I remember I was, the song at communion at that vigil mass was, oh my gosh, Here I Am, Lord.
Ah, yes.
Do you know that one?
Oh my, I know it. That's what got me to start editing the podcast. Literally.
That song has hooked many of people into many of God's plans, I'm sure. And that's a song, interestingly enough, that will like just kind of comes up. And anytime I'm like somewhere significant and I hear that song, I just know that's the Lord, Yeah. It's just such a sweet consolation now. So.
And so you heard that, and that's when you kind of knew that this was the right fit. Yeah.
It's not like I had any connection to that song. It was the literal words, like, here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord?
Yeah. And I love it. It's like, who should I send? Like, yeah, so good. So then you start this life in ministry, and what happened? I mean, was it just like immediately you were kind of like, this is what I was looking for, like that connection with people?
No, again, I mean, truly, like insecurity has followed me all of my life, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to like come out of myself, even for the gospel. I didn't have like zeal for souls. I didn't even have like a love. I was so self-focused on like, I don't know what to do. Are they going to like me? I felt so vulnerable, like doing ministry. Like I'm not being facetious when I say it's a miracle that the Lord has made me an evangelist, because, I mean,
it's so,
and even that he kept me in those 11 years.
It's so crazy hearing this. I had no clue that you struggled with that at all. Like you do not give that off at all. Just
like in relationship with the Lord, he's purified so much of that, and he's healed so much of that with just by his love. And it's stuff I still pray about and think about. And, wounds are nasty and they're deep, and the enemy is relentless to make you agree with them and believe them. He wants you to allow your wounds to define you. So there's a targeted campaign on your heart to keep you from God's will. And insecurity is one of those ways. It's just a stronghold that he had in my life, and praise God, is I'm battling out of every day. But yeah, I didn't go after people. I mean, I think I'm like naturally in like my personality, I'm kind of bubbly and charming. Like I could be doing student government or like up in front of people on stage or speaking from a pulpit. I can like use those natural God-given gifts, but I can still be feeling deeply insecure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, when you describe it like that. Yes.
But I could turn it on,
because it's your gift. It's a gift that literally comes. Yeah, it's coming from the Lord. And that's why it's so obvious. I think when I listen to you, it's so clear that it's the Lord. Like when he speaks through you, it cuts to the heart. I mean, it's a gift. It truly is a gift. Yeah. So that does kind of make sense when the way you just described that. But so then, so you stayed there for 11 years.
I know, crazy. I tried to leave
what kind
a
of
couple
work
of times.
did you do?
Yeah, I did middle school youth ministry, high school youth ministry, and then I did sacrament prep for all grades 6 through 12. So anybody who wanted to come into the church or needed to complete their sacraments or, again, first communion, confirmation. Confirmation when it was still in high school. So the interesting thing is I thought after summer camps, what I did in college, that I loved high school, and I kind of took on middle school begrudgingly. Like, okay, well, I'll do this. But the Lord is so funny. I fell like crazy in love with middle school. Like, it's just my whole heart, our middle school kids. And we did the EDGE program, and it was just the joy of my life, the joy of my week. I think they're the most delightful, funny, like they're just so themselves,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely loved EDGE. So I did like weekly youth group, I did Bible study, I did retreats, and I just spoke at my own youth group every week, like talking about my own prayer life, talking about the Lord. But I didn't like start doing any kind of like outside speaking until probably the second half of my youth ministry career, when we started doing more like collaboration with like bigger diocesan events or things like that.
Yeah. I love how you explain that, because I think you made the comment that, you weren't really like going out and finding people in the beginning, but how beautiful, because he was bringing them to you, like as a youth minister, you were able to receive these kids that were in these like vulnerable times of their lives. And speak this truth into them.
I mean, Rachel, you're so generous. I like actually, I really.
That's life-changing truth, Like I didn't have any sort of youth minister program at all. I had no youth group. Youth group at all. Like I didn't, if I had a youth minister speaking that into my life in middle school, I mean, that is life-changing truth, that you're getting.
Thanks. Yeah. Looking back, I've like, especially being where I am now with the Lord, and like, I just only want to talk about Jesus. My whole life is the Lord, I like really grieve the years that I was so selfish and insecure, to like come out of myself. And I just lacked the conviction that like people will die without Jesus. And I don't even mean physically on earth die. I mean, like their souls will die, their hearts die, their dreams die. Like it's a lesser life. It's a half life, without the Lord. And I didn't, that didn't get me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. So what happened? Like what the heck happened?
Well, I mean, the same thread runs through my youth ministry experience. I just continued on in this personal relationship with Jesus. And that's where I really became devoted to Eucharistic adoration, and they had a perpetual adoration chapel. So I had a holy hour, and then I just started going there just to be with the Lord whenever. I'm so like, I'm hesitant to say this because it just is not, it wasn't impressive. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
I wish I would have loved the Lord more and sooner and like more courageously, but I just like turned to him in like my brokenness and like being emotional and honestly wanting to get married, like just wanting. I considered youth ministry, to my shame, I considered youth ministry the stepping stone. Like, this is what I'm going to do until my vocation. This is what I'll do, which is a good way to spend my life. I get to be with the Lord. I get to love on kids. Like, I'll do this until I can be a wife and a mother, you know?
Like making those plans in your head.
Yeah.
You don't even realize you're taking the pen away from him by doing that, you know?
Yeah. And I was really disillusioned, like that it wasn't happening year after year after year, you know? But at the same time, becoming just more and more enmeshed in relationship with the Lord, enmeshed in this Catholic community, like really delighting, particularly in middle school youth ministry. And yeah, he was doing a lot of refining. Early on, he gave me a verse from Hosea. I will allure her into the wilderness. I'll speak tenderly to her. And I knew that was a verse that he had spoken over that season of my life. So when I look at Flagstaff, which is literally like geographically in a forest in high elevation, the Lord absolutely allured me in the wilderness and won my heart and spoke tenderly to me. He really very intentionally, relentlessly pursued my heart, you know, there.
Yeah.
And all the while he let me be in ministry. It's just so crazy that he was like, let me be in charge of souls when, you know, not that any of us are ever like ready or holy enough.
Right. And he uses everything. That's the thing is like, yeah. I've been sitting with that lately because I have a lot of that in my own story too. Like, why didn't I know you then? You know, like, why didn't I know you in college? You know, I was so lost, you know, in so many ways. And just wrestling with that with him. And I remember he actually showed me in the loaves and the fishes when he's talking about when he tells the disciples to pick up all the pieces and let nothing be wasted.
Yeah.
It was just so beautiful. It was like this knowing, because I had had those thoughts like that day or whatever, the day before. And I just knew that was him kind of saying that I use it all. You know, I use it all for you, but I'm also using it for others in their story. And that time was helping others, whether you realize it maybe or not, you know. Whether it was for suffering, you know, maybe you were hurting others, but he's going to use that, you know, in their story. So just going through all that and like working that out with him. So I can definitely relate to that. But,
you know, in those years, Rachel, for you and for me, we weren't lost to the Lord, you know, we were lost. We had a sense of being lost or far off, but he was with us, you know? Yeah. We were never a lost cause to him.
Right. And so then, you're having this kind of deeper, because I know you say that you felt far, but I don't think you realize you're a lot closer, I think, in a lot of ways than a lot of people are. But so then you were having this kind of, getting deeper and deeper into your relationship with him and your love for him. And how did Blessed Is She come into your life?
Well, I was sitting on the couch one night and I got a text from a number I didn't know. And it was Jenna Gizar. And she asked if I wanted to give a talk on the very first Blessed Is She retreat. And I had known her husband. We'd met through like some ministry events. He's like the best guy in the world. And I knew Jenna we'd met before, you know, we were acquaintances, but weren't friends. And I had seen things of like, blessed is she being shared. And I remember even like sitting at my computer in my office, like, what is this? What is she doing? You know, like it like really exploded on the scene. And I was like, okay, I guess that's cool. And then she asked me, and then I was like, oh, okay. You know, it feels so nice to be like included and like thought of, you know? So Jenna always tells this story. She always tells this story like I was so confident, which I guess in some ways, you know, that's the Lord's doing. But she asked me to give a workshop on defeating distractions in prayer. And I said to her, I'm not going to give that talk. I want to talk about how good prayer is. I don't think people know how good prayer is. So I want to talk about personal, dynamic, intimate relationship with Jesus, because that's like what I stake my life on, that you can hear from the Lord, that he is speaking, that you are loved, that he's a real person. This, you know, at this point now I've been like, the Lord has just done so much. And this is like the defining value of my life and the defining characteristic of my ministry with my students, you know? So she was like, okay. So then she asked me to give it as a workshop. And then she asked me to give the workshop twice on the retreat. And she sat in both of the workshops. She didn't go to any others. And I remember she sat on the edge of her seat the whole time. And I thought, who is this girl? What? Like, I couldn't believe that she liked it so much. You know, I was just like sharing what's worked for me in prayer and who the Lord is. And yeah, it was really a beautiful retreat. And she called me the very next day and said, I want to take this on the road. Like, let's do this. Let's get, you know, Emily Wilson, she can do the music, and we'll just go to parishes all over the country and we'll like set up these worship nights in people's backyards and you'll speak and Emily will play. And I'm like, what? Like, we've talked on the phone like twice. What? But Jenna is like such a dreamer. You know, she's truly like she's a visionary, you know? Yeah. And she had a big vision for Blessed is She, given to her by God, you know, entrusted to her from the Lord. And yeah, we just became like best friends. That's really what happened. I became a writer, and we started talking on the phone all the time. And, you know, I just shared things about prayer and ministry and the Lord. And one day she invited me to come work for her. And I had actually been at lunch that day with a friend, and I was crying. I said, like, I don't know if I have another year in me. Like, I just don't think. I've been feeling for like a year something is coming, but I don't know what it is. And I don't keep, you know, well-meaning people are like, why don't you go back to school? And I'm like, that sounds exhausting. No.
Yeah, no. Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. And I, you know, I'd applied for or been offered positions that were kind of lateral moves. Like, what's the point? I love this community. I love these kids. Why would I just go somewhere else and do the same thing? You know, that's not my territory. This is my territory. But I just knew I was done. And on the way back to the church that day, I called Jenna like I did every day at that point. And she said, what would you think about working together every day? And I was like, yeah, what? Of course. But Jenna wasn't even full-time. Oh, maybe she had just come on full-time. And she said, you go talk to Jesus and I'll talk to the bookkeeper. Wow. And when I went into the chapel, I had a vivid image of Jesus. I was in the boat and he was like standing out on the water and it was storming. And I ran out of the boat and he just threw his head back laughing. And I ran right to it was the most freedom and joy. Like, I knew it was an invitation to risk, you know, but I just knew it was the Lord. I knew it was his will. So anyway.
Wow. Oh, I love that so much because it clearly was. My gosh. And you've been there 3 years?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Rachel's 3 years today, July 1st. Yeah, that's so funny.
Out.
Yeah, I totally forgot. That's so funny.
Oh, he's so beautiful, Beth. He's so beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. Wow, that's crazy. Oh my
That's
gosh.
fun. I should do a holy hour just to thank him
That's
today.
amazing though. And yeah, just like where it's gone in those 3 years, it's just continuing to blow up and it's continuing to grow.
Yeah.
It's continuing to reach more people and more souls, and there's such a need for it. And I just think, I don't know if you see this, but it's so clear how he's used your story for this. Just
Well, you're helping me to see it, Rachel.
he wastes nothing, Beth. He wastes
amen.
nothing. And it's all coming out through the work you're doing now. And it's blessing other people through that. And yeah, it's just, wow. He is just amazing. He's the best plan maker ever. And that's why I'm always constantly now just like, Lord, you know way better than anything that I can come up with. Like, you've shown me. Like, just take it all and do what you want with it, because you're just so much more creative than I could ever be. So and it's just so beautiful how he brought certain people into your life that spoke to you right at the right time, I think. And then how, you were introduced to Jenna right when you were like looking for that next chapter. And it's just so beautiful how he does that. But for you, what would you say have been some of your greatest challenges in cultivating a relationship with him? And what have been some of your greatest joys?
Okay, greatest joys are that the Lord is alive and he's speaking and he has the power to save and to heal and to restore. And he still sets captives free. I mean, he delivered me and healed me. He works miracles in my daily life. He works together these little details just to delight me and just to like wink at me and say like, hey, I know about that. I was watching that. I love you, you know? One of the greatest challenges, I think, would just be, overcoming my own insecurity, my own sinfulness, believing God's love despite my shame and, insecurity. And, like, honestly, truthfully, like wrestling with vocation and wrestling with waiting has been hard, It's also been an incredible source of intimacy in my relationship with the Lord. It's like, just driven me in like desperation for love and purpose and like sharing my desires with him. But generally my view of prayer is that it's a joy. Even the hard stuff is a joy because I know who he is. So no matter what I bring, he's unchanging. He's always in a good mood. He's affectionate. He's kind and patient, But it was a journey to like learn and believe that.
Totally. Yeah. And it's not easy when you're dealing with perfection, literally, when you stand up to that, just noticing your own, it's almost like your own ways that you fall short from that become more clear in some ways when you're so close to that, just like literal source of all love. It's kind of like you can see how little you are, but even in that, like you're saying, that's still a joy, because it's like the fact that we even have access to this is just amazing. And so what have been for you? I mean, it sounds like definitely Life Teen, but what have been some of the greatest influences for you throughout your journey? Whether it's, a book, a speaker, a certain retreat, or even a specific sacrament, which it sounds like definitely the Eucharist in your story has played such a powerful role. But are there any kind of resources that you'd want to mention for women or people out there that are that want this relationship with him?
Sure. I would say just daily prayer. It has to be non-negotiable. Time is the only way to build a relationship. So I think things really accelerated for me in my relationship with the Lord when one Lent he asked me to spend time with him every day as my Lenten sacrifice. And it's not like I didn't have a prayer life. I had a holy hour. I was in ministry, but I didn't have just a daily dialogue with him. That I didn't have set apart time. I was praying. Does that make sense? But I wasn't committed to this intentional time with him every day. So, that dedicated time is everything. Joyce Meyer, who's a Protestant Bible teacher, was just a massive influence. She inspired me to love the word, to read the word, to memorize and declare the word. She taught me about the power of the word, and how applicable it is to daily life, to my life, and that the Lord's still speaking through his word. Father Jacques Philippe's book, Searching for and Maintaining Peace, changed my life. Ensino Jesu is another one in more recent years that deepened my devotion to Jesus in the Eucharist. It developed and deepened a love of the priesthood, a deeper love of the priesthood, and a real commitment and desire to pray for priests and to love priests well through intercession, especially before the Blessed Sacrament. What else? Worship. Oh man, praise and worship music. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, but that's good. That's good stuff. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. And where can someone go to find you and Blessed is She and Teachable Tuesday if they want to find more about Beth Davis?
Well, you come to find prayer and community. blessedisshe.net is our beautiful website with all kinds of incredible resources, free resources. You can find our podcast, The Gathering Place, there. You can find Teachable Tuesday there. You can sign up for our free daily devotions, which are, the Mass readings every single day, and a really beautiful devotion written by one of our 40 plus writers all over the country. Women in all ages and stages of life, which is so cool to hear what the Lord's done in their lives. And then the same, anywhere you're on social media, Blessed is She _ on Instagram, Blessed is She on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel, which is so fun. And then I'm just on Instagram as the Beth Davis.
Perfect. And Beth, the last question I hope to ask everyone who comes on at the end is, can you share with us one scripture verse that is either speaking to you recently or that played a foundational role in your journey in the faith, and why?
Okay, my life verse is Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. And that's my lens. That's my framework for my whole life, that the Lord uses everything. Nothing is wasted. Yes. Even what appears to be for our harm, even what the enemy has intended for harm, God will work together for good. I just have total faith in his faithfulness and his ability to make all things work together for my good because he loves me.
Yeah, that's so good. And so good to just rest in and to know that truth about us and our relationship with him. So thank you so much, Beth, for taking the time to do this and for sitting with me and sharing your story so vulnerably and just opening up for everyone. I think it's so helpful, especially for those that, are seeking this and that want what you have with Jesus. I think it's so beautiful just to dive into that and to explore how he works. So thank you again.
Thanks, friend. Well, I'm excited to be friends now. So thank you.
Thank you so much for growing some good with us today. Visit us at togrowgood.com/podcast to find links to everything we mentioned in today's conversation. If you enjoyed today's conversation, would you please consider leaving us a review on iTunes or on whatever app you're listening from? Reviews help podcasts to show up higher in search results so that more people can find these incredible stories of the Lord at work. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider sharing it with a friend, a family member, or a coworker who might enjoy the conversation as well. Find us on Instagram at To Grow Good. See you next week.